Hi, I'm Joe Gerdes, and this is Coffee in the Capitol. Today we are joined by Senator Tracy Pennycuick in the middle of her first term representing the 24th Senatorial District, serving parts of Berks and Montgomery counties. She's chair of the Senate Communications and Technology Committee and vice chair of the Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee. A veteran herself, after several combat deployments as a helicopter pilot, she retired as a lieutenant colonel and started her own aviation business. She's also previously served in the Pennsylvania House. Senator, thank you so much for your service, and thank you for taking some time to be with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Senator. As you know, one of the things I always like to ask is your view of local governments and that relationship between the state and local governments, and how important is that in the work that you do? And are you hearing from your townships? What are you hearing, and how's that communication, that line of communication?
So I reach out to my local municipal governments a lot and often. I view my role as being a partner with them, helping them achieve their goals, whether it's through grants, whether it's through coordination with PennDOT, whatever they need to make their communities successful. That's kind of how I look at my job with them. And if I know what they're looking for and what they're trying to do, and I know their end game, I can advocate on their behalf. So that's what I always try to do, is just kind of be their voice in Harrisburg, if you will. They are my bread and butter. They have their finger on the pulse of what's going on in a community. And oftentimes they can come and say, hey, we might need X. And then it puts it on my radar, and I start looking for grants, or I start looking for money, or I start figuring out a way that we can help them be as successful as possible.
Senator, as chair of the Senate Communications and Technology Committee, you held a hearing at the beginning of the year on cybersecurity in local governments. It's something that is an increasing issue, and just wanted to get your thoughts on some of the takeaways that you got from that hearing.
The most important takeaway that I had from that hearing was that local government is incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks. It is so difficult, even at the state level, it's very difficult to stay up on the latest attack protocols and the latest increase and breaches. And we have, robust staffs to do that. At the local level, sometimes it's just a township manager trying to not only run the township or the borough, but also worrying about cybersecurity. So that to me is a weak link. What I would love to see, and what we're trying to do, is create an umbrella over the state of Pennsylvania where the state purchases the software and the cybersecurity protocols and pushes it down. So there's one thing off of that township manager's plate. They don't have to worry about it. The state says, here it is, this is the latest and greatest. When there's a patch, when there's an upgrade, it's done for them. That's what I would like to see, because, a local municipality, they're not looking at a huge budget. And so, and as you know, cybersecurity is huge.
Right.
You can lose all kinds of data with a breach, whether it's names, social security numbers, date of birth. There's all kinds of problems with that. So we want to make sure that constituents' information is secure, that township business is secure, and that they're not having to worry about it.
We're all trying to wrap, our hands around AI, artificial intelligence, and how this is going to affect us and how it's going to affect townships. One of the things that we've talked about for a while are right to know requests, and how do we walk that line between sunshine and transparency?
And right to know requests are a great tool for someone to get information, to require the government to be transparent.
Sure.
However, when it is used, when a right to know request is being flooded into a municipality through an artificially produced request, just for information that you can find off of the internet or off of a homepage, that's wrong. Now you're cluttering up that manager's time, his efforts, and you're taking him away from important work. So we want to make sure that the right to know requests are from actual individuals, not an organization that is just flooding a municipality with information. And honestly, it just not being a cybersecurity expert, just what I've learned is overwhelming. I can't imagine being a township manager and having to not only do that job, but learn about cybersecurity, which is why we want to provide that coverage and make sure that they don't have to worry about it anymore. Take that one thing off their plate, both cost-wise and time-wise. I think that's really important.
So, Senator, as things wind down here, there's only a few legislative days that are scheduled right now over the next couple months as we finish the 23-24 legislative session. What would you like to see addressed in the few days that we have remaining here over the next few months? And if not, if we don't get them done, what are some of the things you think we should focus on next legislative session?
I would love to see, I have two AI bills that I think are really important, and it's obviously the right to know bill that I think is very, very important. I also have an AI child sexual abuse material, also previously known as child porn. I think that is critical that we put that in place. Children that are victims of having their images manipulated into either sexually compromising photos or nude photos and then spread all over the internet. That's just, there's no place in our society for that. And I think that's really important. And my third bill that I think is really important is the Korean Valor Act, which would recognize our American citizens of Korean descent that fought in Vietnam in the Korean Armed Forces. We've done it at the federal level. I think we need to do it at the state level. I have about 300 veterans that live in my district, as well as Southeast Pennsylvania. And I think it's important that we recognize them and recognize their service to our nation. You know, we'll see where things go, but we'll reintroduce a lot that doesn't get done this session. And hopefully next session we'll, you know, maybe have a lot more than 114 bills signed into law, which is where we are right now. And it's a little frustrating that we haven't been able to get as much passed, but you know, next session is a new session and we'll start all over again and hit the ground running in January and put out a lot of co-sponsor memos and hope it works.
Well, that's all the time we have today on Coffee in the Capitol. Senator, thank you again for joining us. We very much appreciate it. And thank you for always having your door open for Brian and I and our team at PSATS to talk about legislation and things that are out there affecting townships.
Absolutely. I love you guys because you always tell me what's going on, what's good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's really important for legislators to know what's going on at the local level.
We'll see you back here next week for the next episode of TVN. And remember, subscribe to PSAT's YouTube channel, hit the like bell for notifications, follow our social media pages, and head over to the TVN page at psats.org. And as always, thanks for tuning in.